Hello everyone and welcome to Battle of the Beast Transformation Takedown episode number 25. I'm Adam and today we got the third battle of the semi-finals, or quarter-finals, sorry, where we'll have two more beasts fight out for the third spot in the semi-finals. So far in the semi-finals we had two incredible battles of Cobra versus Noctilla, and in the last battle, Texan taking on Selkara. Both of them were incredible battles where I think the right beast came out on top. And now we got another battle where two more beasts are fighting out for that semi-final spot. Now, both of these beasts have had probably one quick, easy win, and another one had a victory which they did fight really hard for, and I think did earn eventually. But yeah, did very good. Whereas the other one skipped round two, so only one victory under his belt. But let's introduce these beasts. This is probably the most underwhelming matchup in my opinion, but I decided to put this one be the third fight because I wanted to get the other two done. And this one I think I I may have some creative liberty, but it may be the quickest fight of this round. So heads up there. But let's introduce the fighters. Representing Series 10, Master of the Beasts, the Killer of Ospira the Savage Sorceress in round 1, and Equinus the Spirit Horse in round 2, we have one of the Knights of Forton, Lustor the Acid Dart, versus his opponent, the Killer of Ursus the Clawed Roar in round 1, and no one in round 2. This beast is from Series 30, The Shapeshifters, the last beast standing of that series, might I add, which is very surprising. We have Hyrix the Rock Smasher. So with these two beasts going at it against each other, this one is probably the most underwhelming matchup in my opinion. And whilst it may look obvious on paper, this is more of a who's going to win fight. Because I'm not really sure, but I do have a rough idea how I could do this. So with that, let's go to the stats so I can learn more about these beasts so I know exactly where to go. Lustor the Acid Dart. From his hiding place among the moss and rocks, Lustor emerges to reveal a toad-like face covered in warts. He has eyes like a fish and a long, curling tongue. Beneath his throat is a sack filled with bright orange liquid that sprays in jets, burning through flesh. Age 328, power 235, magic level 159, fright factor 85, size 247. Powers and abilities: acid manipulation, enhanced strength, heat and lava resistance, limited camouflage, and natural weaponry. Weaknesses: no acid resistance and a pierceable throat sac. He can also transform into the Red Knight of Forton at will with the sword, and is also the knight with the armor which is hot to the touch. Hyrix the Rock Smasher. He does not have a bio which I can go over at the moment, so unfortunately that's a very small thing to talk about. Along with no stats as well, so the only thing I have to go off here is his abilities, which is enhanced durability, enhanced strength, and vine coils from his hands. Okay, so with the stats department done for Lustor the Acid Dart and Hyrix the Rock Smasher, time to get into this tournament, this fight. The battlefield is going to take place in a forest arena, and with that, let's get into the battle. As the chamber doors open, Hyrix immediately bursts through the chamber, not even waiting for the doors to open, as he instantly roars into the arena and makes his way into the forest, before being shrouded from the canopy out of the spectators' viewpoint. On the other side of the arena, the Red Knight emerges, not making a sound, and just makes his way into the canopy as well. As both beasts make their way into the forest, wandering around, trying to find where their opponent is, the knight sees Hyrix walking around, making thuds everywhere he goes, not scared of being seen. The knight, however, stays hidden. He hides behind a fallen log and just stares at this beast from a distance, wondering if there's any weak point on this beast. Hyrix, getting frustrated with not being able to see his opponent, instantly just roars in anger and just punches a bunch of the tree as a tree, breaking it before grabbing onto it and swinging before breaking every tree around his area. The spectators gasp at the sheer strength shown on this beast, and the knight realizes he's going to need to think of something good. He's fighting a beast that's very strong. The knight comes out of his hiding spot and just waits for Hyrix to notice. As Hyrix swinging around in a blind rage, he suddenly stops and his vision turns to his opponent, the Red Knight. He then immediately lifts up his hands and shoots two coils of vines right at the knight, which instantly wraps around the knight. As Hyrix pulls him in, the knight loses balance and just gets dragged in. His armor starting to heat up through the vines, and eventually he's broken free from his armor. Hyrix, confused by this, shoots another vine right at the knight's legs and continues to pull him in, but the armor burns through the vine again. Hyrix, frustrated by this, grabs onto a tree and throws it right at the knight. The knight sees this and rolls out of the way before getting back onto his feet. The knight, Hyrix, frustrated by this, charges up towards the knight, bowing down his head, ready to just impale him on his horns. The knight, completely unfazed, just sidesteps as Hyrix just runs right past him. Hyrix comes to a stop before turning around and roaring at this beast. The knight, unfazed whatsoever, decides that, maybe he needs to do something. He pulls out his sword, not from his back, sorry, I don't know why I did that. He pulls out his sword from his sheath and gestures for the Hyrix to come near. Hyrix, frustrated from not being able to even touch this knight, charges up towards him, ready to just jump. He jumps and goes to slam his fist down on him. Knight sidesteps as Hyrix slams his fist into the ground, creating a cloud of dirt go everywhere. Knight then swings his sword and slashes it right at Hyrix's arm. Hyrix roars in pain over this and turns round fast enough to punch the knight with one of his fists, knocking the knight back into a tree, with the tree falling down as he goes right through the tree. The knight gets up, dazed by this, then growls in anger, realizing he's going to bring out the big guns. Hyrix stares at him with a very sinister grin on his face, knowing that this knight is no match for him. As he goes to make his way over to him to finish the job, he sees that the knight is walking up towards him with no fear in him. Sword drops to the ground as he begins growing, his armor starting to dissolve, then the flesh bubbling. Hyrix stops in his place as he sees the knight change into Lustor the acid dart. Lustor roars in anger at Hyrix. Hyrix, caught off guard by this, shoots vines directly towards one of Lustor's wrists and attaching it to a tree. Lustor only laughs at this as his other wrist is also attached to another tree. He looks at this, completely unamused by this, and laughs before pulling both his arms in, instantly snapping the vines and pulling the trees out of their grip, out of where they were. So he breaks his wrist free from his vines with his claw as he makes his way towards Hyrix. Hyrix, caught off guard by this, bows down and charges up towards him. Lustor sticks out his tongue, wraps it around one of Hyrix's legs and pulls it from beneath him, causing Hyrix to fall on his back as Lustor pulls him towards him. Lustor then says to Hyrix, saying, it's not so funny when you get pulled from your spot, is it? Maybe you'll think twice before messing with me. Lifting up a claw, he sticks it right into the top of Hyrix's chest and drags it down. Hyrix roars in pain and goes to punch at him. Lustor just takes the punch right into his face. He retorts back by slashing at Hyrix's wrist. Hyrix roars in pain over this and uses his other hand to cover the blood as it's seeping out. Lustor only sees that and takes advantage of it before using his claws, he slashes at the other wrist. Hyrix roars in pain over this and goes to kick at Lustor, and being able to push him back as Hyrix is able to get his balance back, only for Lustor to just laugh, stick out his tongue, wrap it around Hyrix's legs, and knock him back and pull him back down onto his back. Lustor then decides he's going to have a little bit of fun with this beast. He then makes his way up to Hyrix, lifting up one foot. He slams it right onto one of Hyrix's hooves, breaking the hoof instantly. Hyrix roars in pain over this, going to punch at Lustor. Lustor grabs the fist. Hyrix goes to punch with his other fist. He grabs that one. He untwists his arms, causing Hyrix's arms to twist, and he continues pulling his arms apart. Pulling Hyrix's arms in a crossed formation. He's roaring in pain over this, trying to pull free. But Lustor decides that no, that's not going to work like that. Let's weaken you down a bit, shall we? He sticks out his tongue, wraps it around Hyrix's neck, strangling him, causing him to lose lack of breathing, and his focus is now on trying to breathe as his arms are being pulled from his sockets in the complete opposite direction. Lustor only stares into Hyrix's eyes as he can see him struggling to even break free. He's slamming his one good hoof on the ground trying to break free, but Lustor's not allowing it at all. Lustor is only laughing at this, seeing Hyrix struggle. Before long, Lustor eventually decides to let Hyrix go. Not because he didn't want to kill him that way. Hyrix quickly just tries to breathe in relaxation, gasping for breath, but also knowing that his arms aren't being pulled off. Whilst Hyrix doing that, Lustor pins Hyrix's head to the ground before grabbing his arm with both his arms and staring right into his eyes with that same grin before snapping the arm right at the shoulder blade. Hyrix roars in pain over this and goes to punch Lustor in response. Lustor reels his head back and bites down onto the wrist, and grabbing onto the arm with one of his claws, he twists his head, breaking the wrist. Hyrix roars in pain over this and goes to headbutt him. Lustor grabs onto Hyrix by the horns, drags him from beneath him, and just stares at him before wrapping his tongue around his body before breaking the horns right off of him. Hyrix is roaring in pain over this, barely able to stay conscious as he's staring into the eyes of what will soon be his killer. Lustor then uses one of his claws, grabs onto Hyrix by the chin, digging his claws right into his mouth, and slams him right into the ground before grabbing a tree and bringing it down right on top of Hyrix. As Lustor breaks away the tree, he sees Hyrix just gasping for breath and stares into Lustor, begging for mercy. Lustor only stares back, showing nothing but pure evil on his side, before he builds up acid in his throat sac and just spurts it out right over Hyrix. Hyrix roars in pain over this as his entire body is starting to dissolve right before him. As he's writhing around, trying to just get out of the acid, which is not working at all. Eventually, his body stops. But during his writhing around, some acid flew off of him, hits nearby trees, hits the grass, dissolves them, and even hits Lustor on the leg, which Lustor just winces as Hyrix eventually stops and his body dissolves into nothingness. Lustor returns back to the night form and makes his way back to his chamber, picking up his sword on the way out and sheathing it, only lifting up one hand as a recognition sign as everyone cheers for this beast. So that Lustor's won, Hyrix has lost. You think Hyrix should win? Please comment below. I think that how my words final and Lustor's moving on to the semi-finals. Being honest, while as I say this could be a relatively even matchup, ultimately though, I don't see a way in which Hyrix could win. Lustor, in my opinion, is a cunning beast, like with the other Series 10 beasts. He knows his stuff about beasts because he's a knight. But also, Lustor, I don't think Hyrix actually a match to Lustor. And yeah, Lustor has the abilities on his side as well as the cunning and also the the psychopath like tendencies. So yeah, I don't see a way in which Hyrix could win, which is a shame. But Series 30 is now completely out of the tournament, and Lustor's the third semi-finalist. By process elimination, we have only 2 more beasts left to fight in the quarterfinals, and we know who they are. The battle of 2 teammates about to go against each other. But who would win? Would it be the Raging Flame or the King of Fear? But until then, that's all for this time. If like what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe. Join me in the next video where we'll see who will win that last quarterfinal battle, and I'll see you next time.